Hi everybody, thanks for stopping by Big Valley Living. My name is Michelle and I have stage 4 colon cancer and I'm doing a series called Journey, and I am sharing various aspects of the journey that I've been going through after being initially diagnosed with stage 2 colon cancer. Today I'm going to talk to you about 6 long-term side effects that have accumulated over time with the various treatments that I've had. I'm going to give you a quick overview and then I'm going to go into a little bit of depth with each one. My first side effect that is long-term is diabetes, type 2 diabetes. My second long-term side effect is the maintenance of a portacath, which is a catheter that I have in my chest, and it must be maintained every 4 to 6 weeks as long as I have it, and there is no indication that I will ever not have my catheter or port in my chest. The third long-term side effect is actually the one that affects me the most, and that is neuropathy in my feet. My fourth long-term side effect is tooth loss from the various treatments. My fifth long-term side effect is increasingly the inability to concentrate on one task at a time. And my sixth long-term side effect, which is the most uncomfortable to talk about, is actually unpredictable bowel habits. If you know anybody who's going through treatment, any kind of chemotherapy treatment, I encourage you to watch some of my videos. If you're actively going through treatment right now, maybe some of these tips can help you to avoid some of the long-term side effects that I had by helping you to recognize some of the warning signs that these items were going to be longer term or permanent. And it may help you to talk to your doctor early on and not suffer long-term side effects from some of the treatment that you might be going through. The first side effect that I experienced and continue to experience to this day is diabetes. So at the beginning of my cancer journey, after my first surgery, it was suggested that I go ahead and take capecitabine, which is also a brand name Xeloda, and it was a 6-month course, and in the last 2 to 3 months I gained 50 pounds. At first I thought that it was from water weight gain because I had extreme swelling in my ankles, but as time went on, the weight stayed on even when my legs went back to normal. So that caused type 2 diabetes. I have not successfully reversed that yet, but I am still working on it. So when you have diabetes, you have to change some things in your life, and that's where I'm at now. So that means medication and dietary changes and exercising with the limitations I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. The second one is that I had a port installed. It's called a portacath, and I've talked about it before. It's implanted in your chest, and I've named mine because it's my partner in life, and I named it Herbert Birdsfoot. Now, the long-term side effect from having a port is that you have to have it flushed every 6 weeks. It's handy for getting blood work drawn because they don't have to go into your arms and hands. And if you have to have a CT scan where they have to put a contrast dye in, it can make it easier for that, although the sensation is a little different. I still prefer to have the dye put into my hand. However, having to go in every 6 to 8 weeks is a lifetime commitment, and my oncologist does not recommend that I get rid of my catheter. I recently went 8 weeks to see how that would work, and I will not do 8 weeks again because my properly functioning port actually was more difficult for the infusion nurses to access, and it took 2 flushes, and the blood draw took a little longer. So I've gone back to a 6-week schedule. Number 3 in my long-term side effects is actually the one that bothers me the most, and I will go in depth on this, but I'll keep it as brief as possible. It's neuropathy, and the neuropathy is in my feet, both feet, and that was caused from Avastin, which was one of the drugs that was administered in my infusion cocktail after my second surgery, which also, I didn't know this, but that's when it had spread from my colon, and then I had an incident that spread to one of my ovaries, and that is the point that I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer because it spread from one organ to another. Fortunately, somehow I was able to block that out, or somehow just didn't think about it. My husband always knew that I had stage 4, but again, I blocked it out. And I'm really glad I did, because it helped me to have a very positive outlook and not dwell on that, because stage 4 cancer sounds like a death sentence. And I have heard from a lot of people who survived stage 4 cancer who are still alive after 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So I'm really glad to hear that. I mean, it gives me a lot of hope. Okay, so when I had the Avastin, most people can go through about 4 to 6 rounds, according to my infusion nurses. That's the average, before they start having some pretty severe side effects. I went 8 doses before I really had bad side effects, and they were basically that my feet swelled up and my skin hurt on my feet so badly that it hurt for anything to touch them. Sheets, blankets, socks, anything. It just was so painful. But at that point, I still could feel my feet completely. Looking back, I should have told my oncologist at that point, when they very first started hurting so bad that it kept me up at night, I should have told him then how badly they hurt and shown him how swollen my feet were, but I didn't. I powered through, and I had 10 rounds of Avastin, and the nerve damage, the neuropathy, is now permanent. So if you or somebody you know is going through this and that's part of their cocktail, then I would highly suggest that the moment that you feel any kind of pain or anything, or sensitivity, or notice any swelling, tell your doctor immediately. So my neuropathy, currently, it started at like the balls of below my toes and up to my toes. Then it spread to my arches, and now it's more like in the end of the heels of my feet forward. I can still feel my heels, but not as well as I used to. So what does that mean? It means I'm unsteady on my feet, especially if I'm going downhill, if I'm going down stairs or steps. If I want to ride my bike, I feel nervous about riding my bicycle at this point. Because I can feel the pedals, I can feel the pressure, but I can't feel the pedals themselves. The biggest thing is that when I put my feet on the ground, I just don't feel steady. When I'm walking on unsteady ground, it's the same thing. Even on a sidewalk or anything like that, I pay attention now to rugs and anything that could trip me. And of course, I'm in my 50s. I don't consider that old. But, you do start to have to pay more attention. But this just compounds that, makes it a little bit more difficult. I'm considering getting a tricycle. So it also changes the need for foot care, and you have to be very, very cautious. So if my feet dry out, I don't necessarily feel it. So I put a heavy cream on my feet in the morning after I take a shower. If I choose to skip a shower because I'm going to be doing some yard work or housework and showering later, before I do anything in the morning, before I get dressed, I put cream on my feet. I'm currently using Cetaphil cream. It seems to have good staying power on my feet. And again, I have socks on after I'm done. The nice thing about putting cream on my feet twice a day is that I inspect my feet for any kind of cuts or cracks or sores, which with diabetes you have to be very careful about, because if a sore goes unchecked, then you could get a really bad infection and ultimately lose, extremities, toes, limbs, part of your foot. I do not want to have to go through that, and I would hate for anybody else to if there are simple steps to take. I always need to have shoes on my feet. Now I can wear like a hard-soled slipper if I want, but I just find that putting my tennis shoes on every morning or dress shoes if I'm going somewhere, just make sure that I just make sure, or hard-soled shoes. I just like to make sure that I have something that cannot be punctured by something on the ground. We have hardwood floors in our house and carpets and rugs. So I just wear shoes all the time. That ensures that I don't, get something on my foot that may have been brought in from the garden or something, or, a rock or something like that. We do clean our floors, but you never know. And having sores on my feet is probably one of the scariest things. And knock on wood, that has not happened. Talking about being unsteady on the feet, another thing that I now have to do is that I have grips in my shower, and I make sure that there is clean, non-skid mats on the floor of my shower or bathtub, because I do not want to slip, and being unsteady on my feet, it's a possibility. And I can get a little bit dizzy sometimes, so that's why I have the grips. If I close my eyes to rinse my hair or my face, I just like to have something to hold on to, and that just makes sure that I'm more confident in my movement, and it provides me with more independence. So I like being independent. I always have been, and I intend to continue to be that way. I'm happy that I have a partner who cares about me and loves me and will ask about me. Same with friends and family. But I would really rather just take a shower by myself. So these unsteady things and having to put the cream on my feet, all of that means that I need to plan my day a little bit differently than I used to. So I need to make sure that I take about a half hour extra in the morning and get up earlier. Planning that extra time isn't easy, but it helps me to feel less rushed, and it minimizes any kind of accidents from trying to hurry to be on time to anything that I do. The fourth thing that's very difficult is tooth loss. When I had infusion, when I was finished, I lost one of my molars. And then not long after that, I went for radiation, and then there was a side dose of chemotherapy. But with the radiation, I lost 2 more teeth, and all of them have been molars. I've adapted to it because of where the tooth loss was. I did get a bridge for one, but if you get a bridge, then all bets are off for getting implants later on. And I've hesitated to get implants. It's a very real thing to consider finances, and I had to think about whether or not it was realistic for me to have, the time invested to get implants, because you have to get the posts put in. Now, I will tell you that when I had the teeth pulled by my dentist, I fortunately did elect to get the filler in there, and it keeps your bones from, it keeps your jaw from sagging in, but it also allows for the possibility of getting the posts installed or put into your mouth, so that you can later on come back and get implants. That's something I do want to do, and I'm going to see how this goes. I just learned that I'm in remission, and I'm so thankful for that. But I want to make sure I stay in remission before I spend upwards towards $10,000 and go through a year of treatment to get the implants. So the fifth and probably least disturbing, and it could partially be age-related item, is memory loss and issues concentrating. Now, the concentration thing has really been noticeable. My husband really notices it as well. I tend to start something, and I know it's kind of a joke, right? Everybody says squirrel, but it's everything I do. I have to keep myself focused. I have to talk myself, through the steps to make sure I get something finished. I want my life to be organized, so it is a constant work in progress to maintain my concentration on any given task that I am performing. The second part of that, the memory loss, is relatively short term. I can still name everybody in the class photo from kindergarten, and I can't tell you necessarily what I had for dinner last night. So I don't know what to say about that, but it is very real. And again, you know, I just do what I can to mitigate all of that. I like to play a lot of word games. I like to listen to music that I know all of the words to. It kind of keeps me stuck in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But if I know the words and I'm singing the words, it just helps my memory stay strong. And I have noticed that that's helped improve my short-term memory by doing these little exercises. There is one final long-term side effect that is uncomfortable to talk about in any company, let alone polite company, but it is so very real and it needs to be talked about. And that is the unpredictability of bowel movements. I can't pinpoint like a certain food or a certain period of time after eating or anything like that, but there's the unpredictability of using the restroom to have a bowel movement. But I have adjusted my schedule and I schedule things as much as possible where I don't eat until I have finished whatever I'm doing. If I was going somewhere at night, I probably would get up and have myself a little bite in the morning, but I'm talking like 10 or 12 hours prior to going somewhere. If I'm going to go to a soccer game or a basketball game for one of my little cousins or a friend or, you know, one of my grandchildren, I will not eat until we're done. Those are my 6 long-term side effects after going through chemotherapy and other treatments 4 different times. If you'd like to hear more about what I went through and you know, the periods of time and everything, I do have a playlist called Journey, and you can watch all of those. If you know anybody going through cancer, please share this with them, or if they're going through treatment. I just really want to help people because I didn't feel like there were resources at the time that I started going through it in 2017 where real life situations were brought up and talked about. I've had a lot of really nice comments. So obviously people are, you know, when you find something like this is happening in your life, it is hard to find resources and a safe place to discuss what's going on. This is a safe place. I really appreciate all of the comments. I appreciate the fact that people share this information with their family, friends, and loved ones. I appreciate people who are subscribing to our channel because that actually helps get the message out, because YouTube will actually put it on an algorithm that gets out there to more people. And if you like this video, liking is not necessarily that you like that I have cancer or that other people have cancer, but liking does share this message. And that's what my intention is to share this message. There is hope. And the biggest thing for me to tell you is to remain positive. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid to ask help. Ever, ever, ever. Never be afraid to ask for help. And be positive, be strong, be your own advocate with your doctors. If you're not comfortable with your medical team and they are not responding to your concerns, you need to consider getting a second or third or fourth opinion and changing doctors, if you will. You are the patient, you are the customer, okay? Keep that in mind. You are saving your own life if you're not getting what you need. Thank you very much for visiting Big Valley Living. I appreciate you stopping by and I appreciate your support. Be kind. See you later, everybody.